Welcome to the first edition of The Week in Black and White, covering all the Juventus news that matters. First edition covers Monday the 24th to Saturday the 29th of December. So we started the week on quite a positive note with a story from Blaise Matuidi, where he revealed that he donated the entirety of his €400,000 World Cup winnings to charity, saying what's most important is that it comes from the heart. It's what I really feel, the desire to share. Next up, we had a report from Sky Sport Italia reporting that Juventus are apparently in the lead to sign Aaron Ramsey on a free transfer next summer. That was followed by reports from Tutto Sport, from Corriere dello Sport, then a more emphatic report from Rai just in the last few days saying that the deal is definitely done, that there is an agreement in place and that he will join Juventus in summer of 2019. So in terms of positives for a deal like that, I think Ramsey is a pretty solid midfielder. He's got a good reputation for Arsenal and for Wales at international level. I think he fills a role that we probably need at the moment. Technically, he's free, but having said that, as we saw with the Emre Can deal, there's every possibility that there'll be a signing on bonus of some kind involved in the deal. In terms of the negatives, I think he has quite a well-established injury history that makes you worry a little bit about his consistency. Salary is reportedly somewhere in the region of 8 to 10 million euros, which does seem quite high. And then obviously you have to worry about how well he'll adapt to Serie A, having spent so long playing in the Premier League. Alexandre actually renewed his contract the week before, but he revealed earlier this week that it was actually Andrea Agnelli who played an important part in convincing him to actually stay in Turin, saying, in short, I'm very happy. I'll stay in Turin for many years. I signed the renewal because I like being at Juventus and because I spoke with the president and I know where he wants to go, he and Juventus. I want to be part of that story. So this didn't actually take place on Tuesday, which was Christmas Day, but it was nice to include it on Tuesday. It's an interview with Fabio where he revealed that it was actually Ronaldo who wanted to come to Juventus, saying, with Cristiano, it was quite simple because he already had it in his head to come to Juventus. There was no real need to convince him. I think around May 25th, after the Champions League final, he decided. He said, if there's Juve, then I only want Juve. Another part of the same interview with Paratici was where he talked about the differences between Conte and Allegri, revealing that Conte had a style of play and quite rightly we had to find players who suited a system. Allegri in that sense is more flexible. He doesn't have one system, he's more open and has more solutions, so the transfer targets are expanded a bit more. Moving on to Wednesday, which was Boxing Day, we travelled to Bergamo to play Atalanta in a pretty forgettable 2-2 draw. Very dreary game, not too many positives or negatives, but I'll go over the high points and the low points briefly. So in terms of the positives, we're still undefeated, which makes us one of only 2 or 3 teams in the top 5 leagues in Europe to still be undefeated in their domestic league, which is pretty remarkable. Ronaldo scored a goal, which I think was kind of inevitable when he came on. Managed to come away without any injuries, which is really important at this time of year. And sort of remarkably, Napoli slipped up, which meant that the lead at the top of the table is now 9 points. In terms of the negatives, I think the overall play was not particularly inspiring, to be honest. As much as Dybala tries to create and make chances for the forwards, I think we still lack that creative spark from the midfield, and play seems to be a little bit sluggish at times. And then, of course, there was Bentancur, who really needs to work on his tackling. I think he's a little bit too reckless at times, and he needs to work on that discipline side of his game. Thursday, we had Allegri's post-match comments that were obviously from the night before. I won't actually talk about what he said because I think it was quite important to read the entirety of what he actually talked about. Referees, owners, and just the general attitude in Serie A. I've included a link just below the video. Andrea Pirlo gave a brief interview outlining why he thinks Aaron Ramsey would be a good choice, saying, Ramsey would be a great buy. Juventus are preparing to pull off another excellent deal. He's a good player and he could do very well. On to Friday, and there were some brief reports in the UK press that Manchester United would be considering Max Allegri for the management role in the summer of 2019. I think it's important to note that for the moment he's just being considered. There's probably quite a few names and he's somewhere on the list. Saturday morning saw Juventus play their final game of 2018. Kind of a scrappy 2-1 victory over Sampdoria. Not particularly inspiring, not particularly good in terms of the overall performance, but thankfully we managed to get the 3 points. Some very strange refereeing decisions, which probably aren't really worth dwelling on, but thankfully we came out with a win. Positives, obviously 3 points in a not too inspiring performance. At the same time, we managed to set a new record in Serie A by taking 53 points out of 57, which is pretty impressive. I think De Sciglio again has been kind of an unsung hero. I think he's been absolutely fantastic in the last couple of games especially. And Chiellini again, just absolutely a towering giant of a defender at the back. In terms of the negatives, I think it's kind of coming to characterize Juventus this season. Really uninspiring play, very slow at times, very defensive once they score a goal, not particularly learning from their mistakes, giving teams the ball and allowing them to pressure. It's something that really has to be fixed for 2019 if we're really going to make a go at the Champions League. A quick roundup of the more reliable transfer news from the last week. Sky Sport Italia report that Stefano Sturaro is quite possibly going to go to Genoa on loan. He was on loan already this season at Sporting Lisbon, but because of injuries, he failed to actually play a single minute. Bologna are also reportedly interested in taking him on loan for the rest of the season. Mehdi Benatia is expected to leave the club, quite possibly in the winter, or more than likely, I think, in the summer. Various places are saying that he's unhappy at his lack of playing time. He's made that quite clear himself in some of the interviews and the comments that he's made. I think it's more than likely that if he does go, it will probably be in the summer, and Juve will look to replace him with someone younger. We've also been linked to a number of young, promising players across Europe. So first up, there's Jean-Claire Todibo, a young centre-back from Toulouse. There's Francisco Trincao, I think that's how you pronounce it, a young forward from Braga who we've been linked with since the summer. And then last of all, there's Cristian Romero, who's the promising young centre-back currently playing at Genoa. To finish off with a brief update on the injured players that are currently out. Juan Cuadrado has undergone surgery successfully, but he's not expected to be back until March at the very least. João Cancelo is still recovering from his surgery, and he is expected to be back in the team for February. Andrea Barzagli still has a muscle injury, and again, he's expected back around about February time. And that's it. First episode over and done with. Big thank you to everyone that's listening. If you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button beneath, and I hope to have another episode out in a week's time. Thanks a lot. Forza Juve.